Hello and welcome back to Beauty Beat, where today we are making some imaginary BH palettes. Now, I like making up eyeshadow palettes. I don't actually think I have a playlist of it, though I might. If I do, it'll be linked. And one series of palettes that I have actually never tried but do enjoy admiring from afar are BH Cosmetics Travel Series. These are 16-pan eyeshadow palettes. They also come out with some 6-pan, I think they just have highlighter at this point, though they may very well have some that are part blush or part bronzer as well. I'm really interested in the eyeshadow 6-pan face palettes, especially if they're all one product. Don't generally appeal a lot to me. Cosmetics will just pick a location. For example, they have Love in London, and they'll make a 16-pan palette that is themed around that city or that place. It's not always a city. So I decided that we would go on a little bit of a world tour today. We're visiting 4 different continents with 4 different 16-pan palettes. I mean, none of us are really getting to travel very much, so I figured this would be a nice little change of pace. We're going to start out with Mumbai. I've called this one Majestic in Mumbai. They also all have these really cringy, alliterative names, so know that I realize that this is cringy even though I'm the one who made it. I think that's enough of a disclaimer on that. But I decided to make this based on some beautiful photos that I saw of Mumbai at night. It's a very densely populated city and it has a lot of traffic, at least this very small portion of the city. But it was this incredibly complex road system, and it was nighttime. It was lit by street lights and the lights of cars, and it was just really stunning. This black and reds and yellows, and I really wanted to translate that into my color story. So I have gone with a row of mattes at the bottom. There's an orange, a sort of pinky red, and a yellow, as well as a black. And then everything above that, I chose to build off of those colors. There are a few different golds in this palette. I really wanted that depth and that shine. However, they are quite different. There's actually 4 of them. There's a very yellow, almost orange gold, sort of what I think of as a standard gold, a more bronzy gold. And then finally, there's this really chunky, almost green gold. I think that that wide variety of golds would allow you to do a really dimensional all gold look if you wanted to, as well as, you know, play off of the different bright colors that I have at the bottom row. And from that point, I added some more sort of neutral shades that I felt I would need to build up a look for this palette. So the sort of khaki color, the 2 tans that you see in the upper right-hand corner, as well as this deep burgundy brown. I think that this palette would actually work for a pretty wide variety of skin tones, and I think it's really pretty. I am not usually one for warm toned eyeshadows, but looking at this, I can see things that I would do and be quite happy with. I can see myself using that khaki color along with the green gold quite a bit. This has some neutrals that I could see myself wearing to work, and I think it's overall quite a pretty palette. I do want to note that don't try to read too much into the names. I just edited these shades into the existing palettes. I just didn't feel like renaming the shades, and this was the Path of Least Resistance. Next up, we're heading to South America with Playful in Peru, and this palette was largely inspired by the Rainbow Mountain, which my high school Spanish skills tell me that I should pronounce the Spanish language name as Vinicunca, but please correct me if I'm wrong on that. And I thought that this is just stunning. It's a natural stone formation, and I love the colors that I saw in this particular photo that I've put up, where they're still somehow earth toned, but they're rainbow. It's a stunning set of colors. I actually much prefer it to the rather edited photos of Rainbow Mountain that I've seen that make it even brighter and bolder. To me, these colors are perfect. And I wanted to incorporate a lot of those into this palette. So we have these sorts of pinks and purples. To me, the upper right diagonal of this palette sort of looks like the Natasha Denona Lila palette. I realized that as I was looking over these again to sort of make any last minute corrections for my video. I think you can go quite dramatic with this. I mean, I know you can. You have two really dark shimmery purples, but at the same time, you have these pinks. You have sort of a rose gold. You have a silver. Those really everyday, at least for me, shades that allow you to, you know, bring in a little bit of that dark purple in a way that is work appropriate. I also think that it's kind of an interesting twist to take this Natasha Denona Lila kind of color scheme and then add in this lower left-hand corner of warm yellow greens. I don't think that is a color combination you see super often. However, I think that the colors in there can pair with the purples. I could see mixing the yellow with the more burgundy colors. And I think that it works. I think that it is unique enough to be interesting, but not so unique that you know the reason there aren't a million of them is because it would be really hard to work with. So 2 continents down and 2 more to go. Next up, we're headed to Cape Town, South Africa. This I called Coasting in Cape Town. Now, Cape Town is, as you would probably expect on a cape, it is right at the southernmost tip of Africa, and it is just surrounded by water. So with this palette, what I really wanted to do was to capture the different colors that water can take on. So we have this sort of blue-green color scheme, but it's not a primary blue and primary green, well, secondary green. You know what I mean, the Crayola 8-pack of colors. Instead, we're going for a more seafoam green, sort of into teals, into blue grays, and just straight up gray. And I think that I think I nailed it with this one. I'm gonna be honest, my favorite is actually the last palette, but if this one existed, I think I would absolutely pick it up, especially since these are what, like $18 or something? Yes, this would be mine if it was real, because I really like these light shimmery colors. That's really what I've been drawn to lately. And this has a really nice variety of those, if I do say so myself. You have 5 total quite light shimmers. We have a white that actually has a little bit of like a blue-green iridescence to it. A shimmery light green with just a little bit of teal. A almost minty teal color. A straight teal, a little bit more of a true almost cornflower blue shade. I could do some damage with this. I definitely see how I could use this. I think that top row, which is quite basic and largely pretty gray, is really quite helpful because it's not such a cold, almost blue gray that I would feel uncomfortable blending it out, or would feel that I might end up looking like I'm bruised. It's got just enough warmth to these shades that I think they will complement the blues as well as the greens without going into corpse territory for a lot of people. I think this would be quite workable, quite pretty, and I do think that it fits that theme of the ocean and the water really well. And then finally, we have Sleepless in Seattle. I had to go for the name. I had to. I assumed that if this was a real palette, that the producer or whoever it is that owns the rights to the Tom Hanks movie would put a stop to it. But you know what? I'm not making any money off of this, so we're calling it Sleepless in Seattle. And I love this to bits. I would absolutely 100% own this if it was real. I love gray eyeshadow. I think I've managed to steer away from saying that so far in this video, but I really like grays, and it's got the grays as well as these really light shimmery colors that we were talking about earlier. This, I wanted to get the idea of this rain over the mountains because that is what I picture of Seattle and these sort of purple mountain majesties. And I can't say that this really gives me mountain feelings, but I can see sort of the raininess, and I just really like these kinds of colors. The blues, this purple blue shade is really appealing to me, and then I like how that would pair with the more pinky purples that are a little below them and to the left. I think that would be gorgeous. There is enough depth in this palette with that far left column that you aren't, tied to this really super light springtime feel. I feel like this could be a very cool toned winter palette as well, which I think is great. I would use the heck out of this if I had it. And I think BH, you should make this. You're not watching this video, but if you were, you should make this. You would have at least one new customer, and I suspect that a lot of other people would also get some really good use out of this palette. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. What do you think of these? I'm really a big fan, but of course I am. I made them. And what locations would you like to see BH come out with? I'm actually really excited for this little series they're coming out with. I think that they've done some really interesting palettes. There have also been some that just don't appeal at all, but that's kind of the beauty of it, is that they're coming out with such a wide variety of different color schemes under this travel banner that I think there's a little bit of something for everyone, and I hope that they will continue to come out with some interesting and innovative color stories in what I've heard is quite good formula in the future. Okay, so this conclusion's been very long. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Consider liking and subscribing, please, if you did. And I hope I'll see you next time. Bye.